Have you missed anything from Tower of God if you watched the anime only? The short answer is yes. Yes, you have. And if you want to know what you've missed or what was changed, just watch this video. Now, I will not be reporting on every single missed line, but I will report on the things I believe are important. The introduction sequence was made longer, very surprisingly. They used different visuals and showcased different characters, and finally confirmed that Rachel will be climbing the tower, sadly. In the show, first we see both Bam and Rachel running inside a cave. We find out that Rachel is leaving Bam to climb the tower to reach the stars. The gate opens and takes Rachel away, then we see Bam crying. Then the gate opens up and lets him in as well. Now, there are a few differences between the two mediums. In the manhwa, we learn that Rachel wants to leave the current place they live in because she is sick of the darkness in there, and climbing the tower will let her reach the world outside and see the stars. The other difference is, instead of opening twice, the gate opens only once and take both. Now, the anime made it look like both of them were chosen, while the manhwa made it look like only one of them did and the other one tagged along. During Hedon's floor, Bam learned about Rachel from Hedon. Hedon already knew who Bam was and then told Bam to climb the tower if he wants to meet her again. And for that, he will have to pass Hedon's test. A giant creature and a black ball appear as Bam's test. Bam then fearlessly charges to enter the test zone. But before he does, Yuri Jihad steps on him. This part of the series was shortened a lot in my opinion. First off, Bam had a cleaver when he arrived at Hedon's floor. Then instead of Hedon calling him by name and already knowing who he is, he referred to him as someone who opened the gate. Then they both introduced themselves from the beginning. Then Bam asked about Rachel and got no answer. Instead, he was told that all answers are up there at the top of the tower. After that, Hedon actually explained how climbing the tower works, so he can get to the top. And it is fairly simple. Take a test, pass the test, and move into the next floor, and then repeat it. What you might not know though is that if you failed, you can actually retake the test. But that is unclear with Hedon's floor and the floor of test. The test then appears and Hedon explains his test as well, which is a lot of explaining so far. But that is expected as we need to understand how the basics are. Also, unlike the show, Bam does show some fear and Hedon is not making it easier for him and he tries to talk him out of taking the test. Bam rushes into the test and the chapter ends. Now, when the new chapter starts, we see a whole different location and characters. Unlike the show, we get to meet Yuri and Evan traveling to the first floor. And when they arrived, they sat down and watched Bam for a while. During that, both started talking about irregulars. They talked about a lot of things, but the most important details are the mention of other irregulars. And those irregulars were Phantom and Oryx. Yuri also confirmed that Hedon hates irregulars and that the test is unfair. Then Yuri intervened and showed herself. She steps on Bam and drags Evan into her bullshit. And yes, Evan did not want to get involved, he just got dragged into it. Now, I kinda wish they animated Yuri and Evan traveling into the first floor because I believe it is extremely rare to see someone descending throughout the tower. Things then did carry on normally afterwards. Just a longer dialogue and multiple things got explained better. For example, irregulars are regarded dangerous because they bring chaos and change to the tower, which is being said a lot, but compared to the other irregulars, Bam is actually very weak. Now, back to the anime. Evan appears and hands Bam a pocket so they can understand each other through different languages. Yuri then confronts Bam for being an irregular, calls him weak, and Hedon then tells Yuri to not intervene as that is against the rules. Yuri asks Hedon about Bam's test and how unfair it is. Hedon says Bam is an irregular and that is a fair test for him. Now, I think it is very important to point out that the pocket was actually Hedon's responsibility and not Evan's, and he was supposed to give Bam one when he arrived. Now back to the anime. Yuri then asked Hedon to reduce the difficulty since Bam is very weak. Hedon replied that he will allow Yuri to help Bam by giving him the Black Marsh. Evan then states giving the Black Marsh might get Yuri executed if they found her out. However, Yuri does give Bam the Black Marsh to help him pass. Now, another change is that the Black Marsh actually got explained way better. First off, the Black Marsh is actually a needle. The main way of using is stabbing. In the show, it appears as a sword, but it's not confirmed that it is a sword. It is also from the 13-month series, a group of half-living weapons, made by someone called Ashul Edward, and then the chapter ends. Back to the anime, Bam proceeds with the test and faces off against the monster, and he immediately gets swallowed up. Surprised, Yuri tries to help him, but gets stopped by Hedon and Evan. Then Evan confirmed that Bam made the correct choice. Bam stabs the inside of the monster's mouth and gets out, then goes to destroy the black ball to pass the test. The next chapter does follow the show, however we get to learn a bit more about Evan, with two very long internal monologues. Evan is a guide or a navigator. It is a very special position in the tower. Now Evan knows how to get things done, thanks to his ability as a guide. Now, if someone can do it or not, that is up to the individual and not on Evan, the guide. Now, guides are also much more complicated than just that. But at the same also, the reason why the Black Marsh helped Bam was not because he is a guy. Well, that is a plus. But because according to Evan, he got something that attracts people. Finally, there was a final scene of both Yuri and Evan leaving the floor the same way they came in from, or somewhere similar. Evan does point out that almost everyone that came for the tower changes their goal eventually, and forget the reason why they are in there to begin with. In comparison with the manhwa, the biggest difference is the order of character lines, and in all honesty, I don't think they make that much difference overall. First, we get introduced to Rak looking for a hunt, and he immediately starts finding opponents to hunt, and he notices two right off the bat, a green girl and Bam. Both are holding powerful weapons, and Rak chooses Bam as his target. Now, Rak appears as a much better hunter in the manhwa. Initially, he noticed almost every good opponent from the get-go, not only Bam and Anak. He also did label Anak more dangerous and hard to hunt, which is why he opted for Bam. This does make him a lot smarter. He also pointed out later during the test that hunting and eating strong opponents make him stronger, which is a feature that we have never seen him make use of. When Bam and Khun met, Bam was scared and a bit hostile towards Khun. Then Rak appeared and Khun escaped. But then Khun notices the Black Marsh, which made him come back to help Bam. But in the webtoon, Bam and Khun's interactions were positive from the get-go, unlike the show where they became friendly after Khun rescued Bam. Also, the reason Khun helped Bam was not because he noticed the Black Marsh, but because he was weak. Khun did notice the Black Marsh a bit later during the test after they escaped from Rak. This part of the show starts off in a waiting room with all the surviving participants. We see Team Bam getting along as well as Team Anak. Then we get into two participants arguing over things that happened during the previous test. A guy with a broken hand tries to start a fight. However, the fight stops the moment Lero Ro appears. Now, Lero Ro is introduced as both a test administrator as well as a ranker. Khun explains rankers to Bam as people that have reached the top of the tower. Lero Ro then pushes everyone back using Shinsu and explains that Shinsu is the source of all power in the tower, and also explains that everyone uses it for multiple reasons. Breathing and combat are some of the uses for it. As for the differences, the red hair guy had his arm chopped off, not broken, as well as a few characters were changed, but most of them were minor characters. So is the red hair guy. Rankers were also explained better. Rankers are people that reach the top, and these rankers eventually get a ranking every single season. Now, the definition of season was not exactly explained, and Lero Ro's rank was not revealed either. Back to the show. First off, Bam asks about Rachel. Ro then says he never saw her. Then Bam asks about the irregulars. Ro proceeds to explain the tower structure and how regulars are chosen to climb. The outer tower is where people live. It's also where most regulars are chosen to climb. The inner tower is where people get to start their climbing journey. And finally, the middle area, which is known as the link between the inner and the outer tower, which confirms that everyone is born inside the tower, except for him and Rachel. Then Ro explains that irregulars enter the tower without Hedon's permission. Bam asks if the irregulars are bad, but then he told it depends on the person. In the webtoon, when Bam asked about the irregulars, Ro gave him a few names of previous irregulars and why the irregulars are feared. The three names are Phantomnium and Auric, which we already know, as well as Enryu. After that, during Ro's confrontation with a regular, he stated that it is rumored that Enryu can create living beings using Shinsu, and that's both to show how important Shinsu is, as well as how crazy some people are while using it. That should be it for now. These are all the differences in both episode 1 and 2, and if you are curious, they are chapters 1 to midway through chapter 11. Thank you.